Hi, I'm Tuesday, and welcome back to Tuesdays with Tuesday. I am Tuesday, and I am a writer, and today I'm going to read to you from one of my books. I'm very excited because I haven't read through this book since it was published several years ago, so this gets to be a rediscovery for me of things that have happened, and a discovery for you, hopefully a fun one that we can discover together. I have a fair warning for you all. I have several animals roaming about, so if you hear little skittering and little happy noises, I actually have this one right here, and then I have a cat right here who's like, nah, I don't want to listen to this book. So she was sleeping, and now she's, oh no, wait, maybe she does want to come. This is Wednesday. This is my cat who's camera shy today. That's okay. So today, if you haven't caught the first 13 videos, I suggest you watch those first because otherwise this chapter is going to make no sense to you. But today we're reading chapter 14 out of my book Savage Hearts from the Savage Hearts series. This is book 1. The audiobook does not exist yet, but I have other audiobooks in case you're an audiobook fan. But right now this is available in paperback and ebook wherever you buy your ebooks and a lot of paperbacks. So I hope you enjoy it. If we get to a point in the chapter, which I have not looked ahead, but I'm trying to look ahead right now, where Santos is talking and signing, then I'm going to make a little motion with my hand to let you know that in the book it is italicized, so you know that he is speaking sign. But that's hard to communicate unless I'm fluent in sign, which I am not. So get ready. I'm going to read to you, and thank you for spending the next little bit with me. Chapter 14. Cleaning Lady and Crush. Adelita. Cruz runs his hand over his face. Never mind. We'll go to a different motel if you've only got one room. The pimply 20-something behind the counter struggles to find his voice to correct Cruz. Intimidating as he always is. I know for a fact that everything in town is booked, and the town next over. It's the big concert up at the stadium. I only have this room free because the people with reservations just called a few hours ago. They got a flat tire and couldn't make it to the show. Shame. It's going to be a killer performance. Cruz's jaw tightens. Fine. We'll take the one room then. Got any cots? The younger man shakes his head. We got extra towels, but even those will be snatched up in a couple hours. Here, take a few now. He goes into the back room and returns with a stack for us, like he's cutting us some secret deal. He wants Cruz to like him. That much is certain. Poor kid doesn't realize that Cruz's face only comes with one expression. A surly control. Santos and Raphael shoulder the bags and my purse while I carry the hot chocolates, which are finally at the perfect drinking temperature. The room is small, barely squeezing in the advertised 2 queen beds. The carpet smells like the thousands of feet that have walked across this dreary maroon color. There are fingerprints on the windows, which my mama would never have tolerated. She was the best cleaning woman in the world and took pride in leaving each room sparklingly immaculate. Of all the things I've been and will become, I am first and foremost my mother's daughter. The itch to clean is strong and combines with my fidgety energy from being cooped up in the car all day. I set the beverage caddy down and meander into the hallway, looking left and right until my eyes land on a housekeeping cart that's been left unattended. Even the 20 feet of space is too much for the guys, so Raphael follows me into the hallway as I lift the disinfectant and a few unused rags. You don't have to clean a motel before you use it, Linda. I keep my eyes on the supplies when the door shuts behind us, closing out the rest of the world from our quaint motel room. I used to clean hotels with Mama. Now that I'm not bleeding all over the place, I have the brain space to worry about things like germs and unsanitary living conditions. I ignore his protest and meander into the bathroom, which is just as unkempt as I worried it might be. Santos doesn't deserve to stay in a dirty room. He stitched me up and prepared to use his body as a human shield when we were being chased on the road. He's a good man. It takes no time at all to spray the sink and toilet, but when I get down on my knees to scrub the bowl, Santos nearly has a heart attack. He barrels into the tight space, shaking his head as he lifts me up. Then he disappears with a rag and the bottle to toss them into the maid's cart before he stomps back inside, visibly upset. His hands are flicking a mile a minute, but I'm not getting a word of it as I wash my hands and arms. It's hard to do things like that one-handed, so I managed to make a bigger mess than I was hoping, splashing water on the sink and getting a little on my sleeve. Santos snaps out of his frustration when he sees me angling my body so I can get my slinged arm under the flow. Then he harumphs and clears the gap between us, lathering up his hands so he can wash my filthy parts. He won't look at me, but I can tell I've done something to upset him. How maddening it must be to have too many things to say and not be able to communicate any of them. He slaps his hands twice, and Raphael comes to stand in the doorway. He signs to Raphael, who frowns. Santos, it's okay that she's cleaning. It doesn't mean she's a slave, it means she's thoughtful. This is apparently not what Santos wants to hear. His hands are getting more emphatic, and his pretty mouth draws in a tight line. Gosh, he's handsome. Raphael sighs. Well, I don't know what to tell you, man. She's not going to go for it. When Santos jabs his finger in my direction, Raphael shoots me an apologetic look. Santos doesn't want you cleaning toilets. If you want something scrubbed, you're to tell him, and he'll do it. Santos smacks the flat of his palm to his chest to punctuate Raphael's words. My mouth draws to the side. I didn't pull my stitches if that's what he's worried about. I was careful. It's not that. Well, it's not just that. It's his culture. Santos was raised to understand that cleaning is done by slaves, not proper members of society. It's a whole big thing. If I were you, I'd take it as a compliment and chalk it up to one of the many differences you'll have to adjust to while you're traveling with Santos. Some things can't be easily deprogrammed. I'm not sure how to take any of it, but when I see Santos is visibly upset, I decide making him understand my logic isn't as important as his insistence that this is the way the world works. I'm sorry, Santos. I didn't mean to upset you. He meets my gaze for a few beats. The gold of his eyes reflects the light as if he travels with pure sunshine that comes from inside his body. The gold beams out at me whenever I have need for something beautiful. I can tell by his tensed throat and the dare in his set jaw that he's amping up to fend off my forthcoming arguments. When I don't present him with one, his shoulders deflate as he signs to Raphael while mouthing, I'm going for a walk, and then he moves toward the door. I expect him to leave, but it's like he can't. He stops, turning back a few times in my direction, then away, then back again, until he signs to Cruz something about me. I've learned that his sign for me is sort of a fist that circles around his face. Cruz's eyes flick in my direction before he nods and signs something also about me. Hey! I don't realize that I'm irritated until my volume raises higher than normal. None of this sacred language stuff right in front of me. I know you're talking about me, so either someone needs to translate or I'll start teaching me sign language. Raphael snickers while Santos's neck shrinks at my scolding. I'll teach you a few words, Viento. And while you're learning, I'll translate. Santos takes this as his cue to exit, leaving Raphael, Cruz, and I staring at each other. Raphael kicks off his boots. He speaks slower now, so I can tell he's tired. Santos was saying that he's going on a walk, but he doesn't want you out of our sight. Then he changed his mind and said he didn't want to leave. Cruz told him to chill out and go, so he went. Raphael grins at me as he scratches his 5 o'clock shadow. If you didn't catch the subtext of that, you're in luck, because I also happen to be an excellent interpreter for subtext. Santos has it bad for you. He's never looked twice at a woman before, so tread lightly. My fingers find each other so my thumb can run over my fingernails to soothe my nerves. Meaning? Cruz stands and fishes out a set of clean clothes from his backpack. Meaning you don't know how bad off Santos was when we found him, and how little he knows of the world still. My uncle told me to get rid of him, that people like Santos can't be rehabilitated. Immediately, a sense of disdain for his uncle cements in my psyche. People like Santos? What's that supposed to mean? Cruz's eyes darken as memories of long past glint with unmistakable pain. Santos is a Cadejo. Did you notice his yellow eyes? I bristle, and though I don't want to get caught up in an argument with Cruz, for some reason I can't be silent. Not yellow. His eyes are golden. Yellow makes it sound like he's evil or something. Gold is hopeful. Gold is beautiful. Heat creeps into my cheeks when Rafi snickers. He covers his mouth to keep his comments about my blatant crush to himself, thank goodness. Cruz doesn't do emotion, so he skips over my awkward comment altogether. Golden eyes are the sign of a Cadejo, a shapeshifter. Those are made, not born, and only the Calcu know how to do that sort of thing. It's barbaric what they put the shifters through. The Calcu had him and his brother since he was a baby, training Santos to be their slave and also their greatest weapon. He cleaned, cooked, and did everything the Calcu demanded. He was their tool, Adelita. His brother Santiago had the gift of cursing, so he was more useful to them. They treated Santiago better, occasionally let him eat at the table. Santos still won't eat at our family's table, even though we've had him a couple years now. Santos has the gift of healing, which isn't as useful to them. He had to heal his abusers, Adelita. Wrap your mind around that. Cruz pinches the bridge of his nose, drawing attention to the purple shadows under his eyes. I was raised as a soldier, but the twins were raised as weapons, neglected, abused, and with a narrow understanding of the world. Cruz rubs the nape of his neck. I'm shocked he hasn't clammed up yet. I'm still as a statue, so I don't disturb whatever clarity Cruz has reached to be able to speak this much without saying anything overly nasty. Cruz massages his forearm with clumsy fingers. I can tell he's overly tired. When we freed him, Santos attached pretty hard to Rafi and me. He didn't have anyone else. When Cruz goes silent, Rafael picks up the thread. A member of our tribe, the Caceres tribe, was causing problems in the village, stirring up talk that Cruz is gone too much to be useful to the tribe and should be replaced. He did one of those hyper-macho bumps to Cruz's shoulder when he walked by, and Santos snapped. Rafael raises his arm, stabs the poor idiot through the arm he knocked Cruz with to teach him a lesson. When Cruz interjects, it's as if he assumes I'm judging Santos, and he needs to defend his friend. It's sweet, the way the three of them stand up for each other. Santos means well, but he doesn't understand everything yet, so be careful. He's getting attached to you, which means he might stab anyone who frowns in your direction. He's not exactly popular back in the village. They think he's a savage. I take his warning with gratitude, factoring this new information into my view of the man who rescued and healed me. If they're worried about Santos being protective of me, then they clearly don't see how strong my attachment to him is becoming. I don't like to think of people viewing him as a savage. He's clearly not. I should keep my mouth shut about my opinions, but the second my lips part, my education spills out. That's ridiculous, people calling Santos a savage. Savages care nothing about the whole, only their immediate id. When my explanation goes over their heads, I choose better words. They're all impulse and no control, but Santos is nothing like that. He's kind to me, caring about the smallest ache and pain. I straighten as much as I'm able. I don't think I'll get on well in your village if Santos is ostracized. He's clearly a good person. Raphael's eyebrows lift in amusement. Well, it looks like we don't have to worry about Santos's crush being one-sided. My cheeks flush afresh. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just saying he's obviously not. I tug on my fingers over and over. We can be done talking about this now. Cruz is equally as shocked as Rafael at my assessment of Santos. That's a lot better of a response than I was expecting. If I can give you one piece of advice, it would be to tread lightly and be patient. Santos has no idea what he's doing. The Calcu don't allow women in their tribe, so he's a bit of a newbie to the whole thing. I bite down on my lower lip, wishing I wasn't getting relationship advice from Cruz of all people. Thanks. Now can we be done talking about this? I think we've got bigger things to discuss than whether or not Santos likes me. The two men respond as one voice. He does. I rub my temple, ready to be done with this whole conversation. Moving on. How long is this whole getting the bad guys to leave me alone thing gonna take? I don't want to lose my job. My patients depend on me. I shudder to think what my Friday morning regular with abandonment issues will do if I'm not there, come her next appointment. Cruz's face goes stony as he stretches his legs. Maybe you didn't understand how bad things are when I told you the Kelku are after you. They're not just a few idiots we can stamp out when they get annoying. It's a huge tribe, and they're loyal to a man that's more powerful and farther reaching than anything we can contain. They won't stop until they've got a hold of everything they want. And once they do, they'll want more assets and still more. This doesn't end. Cruz rolls his shoulders back, and suddenly he looks enormous, towering over me like some giant authoritarian figure I'm supposed to cower to. My heart picks up its pace, unused to men laying down any sort of law with me. I never met my father, and spent most of my free time with the genteel Tomas, so I don't know what to do in a situation like this. Cruz takes in my discomfort and steps back, so as not to purposefully intimidate me with his overwhelming stature. His voice is quiet, but delivers a firm command that doesn't invite my input. You cannot go back to your life. Probably not ever. That is the end of chapter 14. I'm very proud of us for getting through a chapter together. Look at you. You're listening to a book. I don't know what your reading goals are, or if you have reading goals. You don't have to. Not everything needs a goal. But if you do have any reading goals, I hope that I get to be part of that, and I get to read to you one of the books that you want to read this year. I had this little pumpkin on my lap the whole time, and I don't know if you heard through the entire video of my cats and my other dog going and like skittering around the place and enjoying their little silly afternoon. I hope you have a little silly afternoon, and thank you for spending time with me. Have a great day.